Welcome, dear listeners. You have just heard Audra MacDonald singing the aria lament, My Man's Gone, from George and Ira Gershwin's Porgy and Bess. A song from that opera many regard as most evocative of the church and of the tradition of the singing of spirituals, a new art form, a form of music that emerged out of the peculiarities of American slavery as texts of resistance, texts of communication, as examples of a prophetic mode emerging from out of the people that attaches roots close to West Africa and carries with it an efflorescence of spirituality, of Christian spirituality, without parallel in the world, far, far away from ancient Judea of the time of Jesus, and centuries afterward. One would be hard-pressed to find any artistic form or cultural practice that reaches the heights of spiritual intensity of this tradition. And welcome, dear listeners, to our episode today when we will focus on spirituals, slavery, gospel, and Gullah. A spotlight on Charleston, the city of Charleston in South Carolina, somewhat overlooked as a fount of American music culture. Let's say attention often drawn to New Orleans for the roots of jazz, or Chicago for electric blues, or New York for the Harlem Renaissance. And yet Charleston is a place where, as a port, almost half of African Americans can trace their ancestry to kidnapped Africans who arrived in the New World at the port of Charleston. And what's unique is right in the region of Charleston, South Carolina, namely the Sea Islands, emerged a distinct hybrid culture known as Gullah, which preserved African traditions, everything from practices of dyeing, basket weaving, cuisine, and also language. And Gullah is denoting this distinctly American form of Creole, of hybrid language, that, thanks to a combination of factors, also due to environmental, topographic, climatic, that the Sea Islands offered a degree of shelter, of autonomy, which enabled the preservation of these traditions, keeping the link to West Africa stronger than elsewhere in the United States. And also distinct because within Charleston, in the 1920s and 30s, during the so-called Charleston Renaissance, there were also efforts made to render some of these traditions, especially the vocal musical traditions, into a high art form. And what's distinct about the practice of spirituals, unlike cultures of enslaved Africans elsewhere in the New World is how heavily text reliant it is, transmitting stories from the Bible, passages, prophetic passages from the gospel texts, and especially from the Old Testament Exodus story as well. And that is very much a distinctly Protestant and even more Anglo-Protestant mode, right? So answering the question of why is there no samba in the United States as in Brazil, because of the draconian repressive nature of American slavery that in almost all cases forbade any kind of drums or percussion, right? Any opportunity to continue the traditions of complex polyrhythms so distinctive of West African music. And thus, these musical energies were funneled into text and to song as well. And what we heard at the beginning of our episode today was an excerpt from Gershwin's Porgy and Bess, this opera, which was a product of his research stay in and around Charleston in the Sea Islands, an attempt to create a musical art concert platform for these distinctive musical cultures based on, in part, or mediated through a local Charleston author, a book, a songbook, yes, that very much brought the 1920s neighborhood in Charleston, so-called Catfish Row, which is very much a kind of society in transition, on the fringes of society, and throughout, justifiably, these texts are criticized as romanticizing, as exaggerations, as filled with stereotypes, and even creating oppositions, binaries between the black and the white, and even stereotyping pathologies within black society, all of which as justifiable criticisms of Gershwin's text. Yet nevertheless, it remains a landmark in that Gershwin, for posterity, mandated, even in his will, instructions to his family that only performers of African descent be permitted to make up the cast of this opera. And Porgy and Bess is well enough. At the same time Gershwin is composing and doing his research, his field work, so to speak, for Porgy and Bess, there's a really overlooked, curious, definitely problematic society devoted to the preservation of spirituals in 1920s, 1930s Charleston, which surprisingly enough is made up mostly of descendants of plantation gentry, namely slave owners themselves, who not only seek to record and collect these songs, but even sing and perform themselves. So I'd like you to please listen to excerpt of a documentary that I think well introduces both this kind of startling phenomenon as well as its problematic nature, as well as an excerpt of a recording of this Society for the Preservation of Spirituals itself. So please have a listen to that.
Negro spirituals is the most interesting development to happen during the Charleston Renaissance.
These white families were descendants of plantation gentry.
They were longing for the South of their memories.
So what this group tried to do in a very unusual fashion was to save black culture. And the way they did this is through their music. So it was a very contradictory kind of thing. You had people who looked like the masters all of a sudden
with deep affection that we dedicate our program this evening to Major Alfred Eugene, the past president of our organization. Our first spiritual will be Blood City Mark on Me, which in Gullah means blood puts its mark on me. This spiritual came from the Cumby River section of our South Carolina Low Country, and its theme very probably has reference to the biblical story of the Passover.
In the blood, in the blood, and the blood will mark on me. In the blood, and the blood will mark.
As we continue with our special episode spotlight on Charleston, spiritual slavery, gospel, and Gullah. And concluding out our first half, where we looked at spirituals, we looked at Porgy and Bess, the Charleston Renaissance, and this peculiar, problematic society for the preservation of spirituals, where the descendants of plantation gentry, slave owners, dared to not just collect and preserve, but even perform in public the songs of enslaved Africans that were not only testaments of survival, but also communication, coded language, also to help escape and to mourn the losses of slavery, which were ever present. One of the strangest phenomena for any visitors to the area is turning plantations not only into sites of tourism, but even for wedding celebrations. Apparently, some of the most visited plantations like Boone Hall are booked 2 years in advance for weddings. We're all on these grounds. Yes, the soil surrounding these plantations undoubtedly are soaked with the blood of Africans and probably many in unmarked graves. I mean, the comparison is not too far-fetched to call them American concentration camps. And indeed, some of these plantation houses are really recreations, Disney-like after the fact, turning them into large villas, when in fact they looked a lot more, if you go and look at the original photographs, many of them much more like prison guardhouses rather than these stately manor houses. So these societies for the preservation of spirituals, right, collected in a way the cultural capital and the rich legacy of the arts of survival and arts under duress. During the time of segregation, let us remember the 20s and 30s, at the time of the Charleston Renaissance, so-called. Jim Crow reigned in the land, and even that is a somewhat misleading designation. It really was nothing less than American apartheid, American segregation that kept African Americans wholly disenfranchised politically, with hardly any voting rights or equality under the law. At the same time that there is this cultural movement to turn the legacy of spirituals into a kind of an art form, right? A high art form, even as the basis for a distinctly American opera in the case of George Gershwin. But in the second half, we want to move on to focus on what's often been called the grandchildren of the spirituals, namely gospel music. And I'd like to leave you all today with music directly taken, excerpts from the Gospel Fest of the Gullah experience at the historic Moving Star Hall, St. John's Island, South Carolina, just from this past June 2024. And gospel, right, very much an electric sound. Yes, and it's interesting to think about gospel as a kind of counter thesis to secular music, to the secularization of spirituals. Yes, America's distinct classical music, jazz, coming out of ragtime and out of the blues, which all has its roots in the spirituals. And gospel is really a music, if like the spirituals are the soundtrack to slavery, gospels are gospel the soundtrack to the Great Migration, to the urbanization, the transformation into an industrial working force of African Americans, right, often fleeing for their lives from the Jim Crow South under the terror of the Ku Klux Klan, looking for safety, for security, for a better life in the North. Terrorized by race riots in many, many locations where prosperity is in evidence, African Americans still chased out, especially if you look at places like Wilmington in the Carolinas or Tulsa in Oklahoma. Incidentally, the same time when you have riots and pogroms targeting the Jewish population of Eastern Europe just at the same time. And the sound of gospel, of course, makes use of the rhythms, rhythm and blues of the electric guitar, the electric bass, the electric organ, centered around Chicago in the 1920s and 30s. And in what I'd like for you to listen to here is you can see this kind of symbiosis, this exchange back and forth between gospel and rhythm and blues. And in fact, there's many cases going in both directions of gospel songs inspired by rhythm and blues, and also the reverse of many gospel songs that are secularized, most famously by Ray Charles. So two examples that I've interwoven into this medley. Ray Charles, This Little Girl of Mine, from This Little Light of Mine, and Ray Charles, Hallelujah, I Love Her. So, kind of playing off the way in which that love can be of a carnal, erotic nature, but also of a divine, spiritual. And so with that, please listen to both a few examples of gospel and spiritual music back and forth, and then to a number of excerpts from this past year's Gospel Fest, which includes the Move Choir, GMW Gospel Choir.
I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
This little light of mine.
Yes, hallelujah.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh,
This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine.
yes,
Let it shine.
hallelujah.
Let it shine. Let it shine.
For you and me, yeah.
Let it shine. For you and me.
Hallelujah.
I'm gonna let it shine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine.
Yes,
For you and me.
Lord.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh,
Let it shine. For you and me. I'm gonna let it shine.
yes,
Let it shine.
hallelujah.
Let it shine. Let it shine.
For you and me, you know.
Let it
Let it
shine.
shine for you and me. Hallelujah.
I'm gonna let it shine.
I'm gonna let it
shine for you and me.
You and me, Lord.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh, boy.
Let it shine for you and me.
Hallelujah.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yeah, Lord.
Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere I go.
Everywhere I go.
I'm gonna let it shine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Everywhere I go.
Everywhere I go.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go.
Everywhere I go.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes.
Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere I go. I'm gonna let it shine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Everywhere I go.
Everywhere you go.
I'm
Come
gonna
on,
let it shine.
yeah, Lord.
Everywhere I go.
And you turn, come on.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes.
Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Glory, glory.
Come on.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
Since I laid my burdens down.
My burdens down.
Glory, glory.
Glory, glory.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Since I laid my burdens down.
Glory, glory.
Glory, glory.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yes, Lord, Lord.
Since I laid my burdens down.
My burdens down.
Glory, glory.
Glory, glory.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Since I laid my burdens down.
My burdens down.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Since I laid my burdens down.
My burdens down.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Since I laid my burdens down.
My burdens down.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Since I laid my burdens down.
My burdens down.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Burdens down, Lord.
Since I laid my burdens
Yes, I feel better.
I feel better.
So much better.
So much better.
So much better.
Since I laid
Since I laid
my burdens down.
my burdens down.
I feel better.
I feel better.
So much better.
So much better.
Since I laid
Since I laid
my burdens down.
Well, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Do you know that this little girl of mine? I want you people to know this little girl of mine. I take her everywhere I go. One day I looked at my suit was new. I looked at my shoes and they were too, and that's why oh, love the little girl of mine. Do you know that this little girl of mine makes me happy when I'm sad? This little girl of mine loves me even when I'm bad. She knows how to love me right down to a T. If she does any wrong, you know she keeps it from me, and that's why Let me tell you about a friend I know. He goes with you everywhere you go. And when you're down, he'll help you drink from the beer. Oh,
that's why I love him so.
sometimes when I'm walking along, he comes by and he gives me a song. And when the dark clouds, he comes and wipes the tears. Oh, Lord. Oh, he's a friend.
He's a friend.
He's a friend.
He's a friend.
Best friend.
He's a friend.
Best friend.
He's a friend.
Steps in.
Steps in when I need him most.
Pick you up and then he turns you around. And put your feet on.
Put your feet on solid ground.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
about a friend.
He's a friend.
My
He's a friend.
best friend.
He's a friend.
My best friend.
He's a friend.
My friend.
He's a friend.
Steps in.
Steps in when I let you go.
Pick you up.
Pick you up,
Turn you
turn
around.
you around.
Put your feet on.
Put your feet on solid ground.
Oh, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. He's my friend when I'm friendless. My mother when I'm motherless. My doctor in a sick room. Lawyer in a courtroom. Bridge over deep water. Lord, oh Lord, Lord, oh Lord. I say, oh, oh, that's why I love him so. Love him so. Let me tell you about a girl I know. She is my baby and she lives next door. Every morning before the sun comes up, she brings my coffee in my favorite cup. That's why I know, yes I know, hallelujah, I just love her so. When I'm in trouble and I have no friend, I know she'll go with me until the end. Everybody asks me how I know. I smile at them and say she told me so. That's why I know, oh I know, hallelujah, I just love her so. Now if I call her on the telephone and tell her that I'm all alone, by the time I count from 1 to 4, I hear her on my door. In the evening when the sun goes down, when there is nobody else around, she kisses me and she holds me tight and tells me, Daddy, everything's alright. So I know, yes I know, hallelujah, I just love her so. Now if I call her on the telephone and tell her that I'm all alone, by the time I count from 1 to 4, I hear her on my door. In the evening when the sun goes down, when there is nobody else around, she kisses me and she holds me tight and tells me that everything's alright. That's why I know, yes I know, hallelujah, I just love her. Oh, hallelujah. Don't you know I just love her so. She's my little woman, way across town, baby.
remember to rate and review and to like and subscribe to Music and Politics. Please send any questions to musicandpoliticspod@gmail.com. That's one word, musicandpoliticspod. And do seek us out on Patreon @musicandpoliticspod. Once again, one word, musicandpoliticspod, where you can find membership that opens the door to curated reading and listening lists, as well as meetings and consultations with our team. Fare thee all so well.